You okay? Okay. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Thank you. Jaya Vishnupad Paramahansa Puratikacharya Ashtottara Tata Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhakti-Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Puratikacharya Ashtottara Tata Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavini Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Haribol Bhushan. Yeah. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay. On the 7th day of November 2022 in San Diego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti-Vedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we are in Chapter 8, Attaining the Supreme, page 360 in almost all your books. Not your book, Kevin, but it's verse 16 in Chapter 8. Yeah, you can pull up another chair, or you can sit on the bench if you like. No, this is the men's side. That's the ladies' side. Sorry, we haven't. Yeah, that's all.
I can move that way.
All right, you can move that way. Got your book. We're on page 360. Yeah, just move over a little bit more. Just move over a little bit more. That's all. You can sit there. Yeah. Okay. All right. Text 16 on page 360. Oh, wait. Hare Krishna. Page 360. 360. Yeah, just look at the page numbers. Brahma Bhuvanal Loka Punar Avartino Arjuna Mam Upecha Tukaunteya Punarjanma Navidyate Brahma Bhuvana Loka Punar Avartinorjana Mamupe Tutakonteya Punarjanma Navidyate Brahma Bhuvana Loka Punaravartinorjana Mamupe Tutakonteya Punarjanma Navidyate Brahma Bhuvana Loka Punaravartinorjana Mamupe Tutakonteya Punarjanma Navidyate. Go ahead, Kevin. Brahma Bhuvana Loka Punaravartinorjana Mamupecha Tukaunteya Punarjanma Navidyate. Bhushan. Brahma Bhuvana Loka Punaravartinorjana Mamupecha Tukaunteya Punarjanma Navidyate. Go ahead.
Brahma Bhuvana Loka
Brahma Bhuvana Loka Punaravartinorjana
Mam Upetya Tukaunteya
Mamupecha Tukaunteya
Punarjanma Navidyate.
Punarjanma Navidyate. You want to try? Brahma Bhuvana Loka Punaravartinorjana Mamupecha Tukaunteya Punarjanma Navidyate. Brahma Bhuvana Loka Punaravartinorjana Mamupecha Tukaunteya Punarjanma Navidyate. Brahma Bhuvana Loka Punaravartinorjana Mamupecha Tukaunteya Punarjanma Navidyate. Okay, I'll read the synonyms myself. Brahma Bhuvanat, up to the Brahma Loka planet. Loka, the planetary systems. Punaha, again. Avartinaha, returning. Arjuna, O Arjun. Mam, unto me. Upecha, arriving. To, but. Kaunteya, O son of Kunti. Punaha, janma, rebirth. Na, never. Vidyate, takes place. Lord Krishna said to Arjuna, from the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest, all are places of misery, wherein repeated birth and death take place. But one who attains to my abode, O son of Kunti, never takes birth again. Purport. All kinds of yogis, karma, jnana, hatha, etc., eventually have to attain devotional perfection in bhakti-yoga or Krishna consciousness before they can go to Krishna's transcendental abode and never return. Those who attain the highest material planets, the planets of the demigods, are again subjected to repeated birth and death. As persons on earth are elevated to higher planets, people on higher planets such as Brahmaloka, Chandraloka, and Indraloka fall down to earth. The practice of sacrifice, called Panchagni Vidya, recommended in the Chandogya Upanishad, enables one to achieve Brahmaloka. But if on Brahmaloka one does not cultivate Krishna consciousness, then he must return to earth. Those who progress in Krishna consciousness on the higher planets are gradually elevated to higher and higher planets, and at the time of universal devastation are transferred to the eternal spiritual kingdom. Baladev Vijayabhushan, in his commentary on the Bhagavad Gita, quotes this verse. Brahmana sahate sarve samprapte patisanchare padasyante kutatmana pavishanti padam padam. Now, there has been a slight change, I think, in the translation to this verse, and so I'm going to read from this newer version. When there is devastation of this material universe, Brahma and the devotees who are constantly engaged in Krishna consciousness are all transferred to the spiritual universe and to specific spiritual planets according to their desires. Well, I guess it's the same. There's no difference. Good. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanandana Salakaya Chakshu Unmidatam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. Okay. So this verse follows, as always, logically from the previous verse. So let's just read back from text 14, because there's like a flow of the ideas. I'll just read the translation. Text 14 is, for one who always remembers me without deviation, I am easy to obtain, O son of Pritha, because of its constant engagement in devotional service. After attaining me, the great souls who are yogis in devotion never return to this temporary world, which is full of miseries, because they have attained the highest perfection. From the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest, all are places of misery, wherein repeated birth and death take place. But one who attains to my abode, O son of Kunti, never takes birth again. Hare Krishna on the altar? Can we kind of quiet it? Thank you. So then we had this purport that we read. So the idea is that beginning in text 14, Krishna is giving the goal of bhakti-yoga. Ananya cheta satatam. Yo mam smandati nityasha. In that one line, he condenses the actual goal of practicing bhakti-yoga, which is to attain constant remembrance of Krishna. And what's the result? I am easy to attain. Nitya yuktasya yogana. Well, once you attain that state, it's easy to attain, but attaining that state is not so easy. In other words, to become constantly remembering Krishna after leading millions of lives of always forgetting Krishna. This is the problem. In our conditioned state, we are in an unnatural state of always forgetting Krishna. And in order to do that, we come to this material world. This material world is created to give us a place to enact our material desires, which means desires having nothing to do with Krishna, and to experience how that is a very foolish type of existence, because it results in a lot of suffering. A little pleasure, flickering pleasure, and a lot of suffering. That's what material world is all about. So the Bhagavad Gita is a means of instructing us in a philosophy. Chris, can you go out there and ask him not to play the drum in the patio? Thank you. So that we can come to the point of remembering Krishna more and more progressively in a positive way. The definition of pure bhakti has been given by our great Acharya, Rupa Goswami. He says, Anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karma dhanavratam anukulena krishnanushilanam bhaktir uttama. This verse encompasses the ultimate goal of practicing bhakti yoga. So what is he saying here? Anyabhilashita, other desires, shunyam, devoid of. When your mind is devoid of all other desires, except to serve Krishna favorably for his pleasure, That is the platform of pure bhakti-yoga. Now, one may, in our conditioned state, we may ask immediately, it says, okay, well, what's in it for me? I'm going to be serving Krishna, for his benefit. It sounds like slavery to me, But the difference is that, yes, we're serving Krishna selflessly for his benefit, but we find that since we are part and parcel of Krishna, we are experiencing the higher bliss in that situation. When we're separated from that, we still have to serve and we're still looking for our pleasure, and it turns out to be the pleasure of the senses or the mind, subtle or gross pleasure on the false platform. But that results in frustration because that kind of pleasure is very flickering. It has a beginning and an end. My favorite verse, practically every class I chanted, but it's worth remembering. This is from the 5th chapter, 5:20 or 21. Yehi sangsparjaja bhoga dukkha yonaya evate. It's very simple Sanskrit. It's certainly true. Yehi sangsparjaja bhoga. Bhoga is enjoyment. And samsparsha is the touch of the senses to the sense objects, meaning the interaction. You see something beautiful, attractive, it causes you some pleasure. You touch something, taste. Every sense has its objects that are pleasurable. Unfortunately, there's also a whole bunch of objects that are displeasing. You may touch something, but it's too hot. Or on the mental side, which can be where someone is insulting you and degrading you. That's not pleasant. In other words, this is a world of dualities. In the spiritual world, it's just one bliss after another, varieties of pleasure. Because Krishna's ability to enjoy is unlimited. If we're participating in that, then we find ourselves also experiencing this ever-increasing joy. This is what Krishna says, as in the form of Lord Chaitanya. Anandam buddhivardhanam patipadam purnamita svadanam. The very first verse of Shikshastika. This chanting of the holy name, which is nothing but absorption in thought of Krishna, vibrating his name, appealing to him in the most attractive way that he delights in hearing you chant his name. Then, after purifying the senses and the consciousness, you come to the point of experiencing ever-increasing ocean of bliss. This is inconceivable in the material world. We know that pleasures yes, we can aspire to a pleasure. But it has a beginning and an end, which is what this verse says. Adyantavanta kaunteya. The pleasures that you experience, whether gross or subtle, mode of goodness, refined art and music, or mode of ignorance, very unrefined, clashing noise, has a beginning and an end. And it's a source of misery. And the wise don't take their pleasure there. Okay, so where are we going to find our pleasure? We are pleasure seekers, and bhakti-yoga is meant to give us the greatest pleasure. We don't say, oh, no, that's all Maya. There is the sense pleasure is Maya. It's illusory. But the pleasure of serving Krishna with love and devotion and thinking of his wonderful and glorifying his name, that's not illusion. That's the real pleasure of the soul. So, here in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is coming back again to this essential point. Ananya chetak satatam. This is the verse 14 we began with. Thinking of me without deviation. If one can come to that point, then I am easy to obtain. You've already obtained the goal, you see. And what's the wonderful result? Mamupecha punar janma dukali mashashratam napnubanti. That one who attains me in this lifetime and finally after death doesn't return to this world, which is dukkaliam. This one word is worth remembering. Dukkaliam, and the second word, ashashratam. He's describing the material world. Dukkaliam napnubanti mamant samsinhim padabhangata. Dukkaliam means full of misery. That's what this world is. Yes, there are little bright spots where you're not miserable and you can be peaceful. But that is coming, just by the force of time. There are so many things threatening that our little position of temporary happiness, and this is the nature of material life. And that's why he says ashashratam. It's not permanent. Like everyone wants to try to get, okay, I've got what's the American dream? It used to be film The American Dream, a home of your own, a secure job, and time to enjoy your family and go vacation, and American dream. Prosperity, peace, happiness, like that. But this very home that it's based on, which is this body, this is also a home for the soul, temporary home, right? It's an apartment. Apartments you eventually get evicted from, often, right? Eventually you get evicted from this apartment by the force of time and death. So how can you be happy? Especially if you're a little intelligent and says, oh my God, I may be enjoying now, but what's going to happen later? This is one of Maya's tricks. You forget that. When you're enjoying something, you forget that it's coming to an end. You're just absorbed, oblivious. It's the enjoyment of the rabbit who sees the lion coming. Well, I have at least, 15 seconds. Why not enjoy? I'll stick my head in the ostrich. I'll forget, and remember. It's foolishness. It's illusion. It's self-defeating. It's, So here, mamu peja puna janma dukali mashashatam napnuvanti. If once one attains me through the process of cultivating Krishna consciousness, returning home back to Godhead, then he's a Mahatma. He's a great soul. And he doesn't return to this miserable temporary place, samsiddhim padamangatam, because he's attained the perfection. So this is for us. We should aim for this. And what's so encouraging, one of the best, chapter 2, we come back to this again and again. Nehabhikamanashati pratyabhayo navidyate. There's no loss and no diminution in this process. Meaning, whatever you attain in this one life, okay, you may not become perfectly pure. Shunyatam is, anyabhilasata shunyam means completely devoid of other desires. You still have some other desires, latent desires. All right, you may come back again. It's not a pleasant prospect, but you don't lose it. Whatever you attain in the previous lifetime progress, you will pick up then. You will naturally be attracted. You'll be born maybe in a devotee family, or if not, then you'll be attracted to devotion and you'll make more progress. Where is that on the material plane? You could be Elon Musk, you could be the beggar in the street, but whatever you got, it's gone when you leave the body. Whether it's $100 billion, $200 billion, or a little basket of apples, you lose it because the body is lost. You lose everything, and then it's your activities, it's your karma, it's your state of mind that's going to determine where you go, and you may very well be degraded, to a lower form. And you go on and on and on and on. This is not pleasure. This is pain. Ashashvatam. So he ensures us, try to be Krishna conscious. Think of me as much as possible. Be devoted to me with love. And then he gives a very sobering statement in the 16, which is the one we read tonight. Brahma bhuvanaloko punaravartanojana. Even up to Brahma Loka, which is the highest realm in this world. Brahma lives for an inconceivably long time, but still it's places of return. They also die up there. Now, by contrast, Mamo Pecha the Kontiya Punajanma, one who attains me never returns. And in the purport, we read that yes, Brahma, there's so many Brahmas. Lord Brahma is the head of our sampradaya. Of course, Krishna is the ultimate head, but in this world, this is the Brahma Gaudiya Madhva Sampradaya, meaning that this is the Brahma who spoke the Brahma Samhita, the very first verse of the 5th chapter, famous, Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Adi Adi Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam. He's a bhakta, he's a pure devotee. He's not coming back, and those on that planet, as we read this last verse, when there is devastation, eventually his planet, after a long, long time, is also destroyed. He also dies. You remember the pastime of Hiranyakashipu and Lord Brahma, when Hiranyakashipu, he was furious that Vishnu, in the form of Lord Varaha, had killed his brother, Hiranyaksha. So he regarded Vishnu as his archenemy, And so what did he do? He went to perform severe austerities, inconceivable, long, standing with his hands up. Ants built an ant hill. They devoured his flesh, but he was so powerful yogi, he kept his life airs circulating in his bones. This is in the Srimad Bhagavatam. And after many, many years, he was emanating this brilliant light. It's like the sun, so hot, that the demigods prayed to Brahma to do something, that their kingdoms were being made. He was so powerful. So Brahma comes down to where he's performing his austerities for many thousands of years. And he sprinkles Hiranyakashipu's body with the water from the Kamandalu, sacred water, and he comes out with this powerful body, and he thinks that the Supreme Lord is there. And he prays to him for immortality. And what is Brahma says, I don't have immortality. How can I give you immortality? So then he has all of these conditions. He tries to outwit, Brahma. He says, okay. Well, let me not be killed by any creature that you create. He says, okay. And not by any creature who you haven't created. Okay, And let me, I can't be killed in the sky, on the earth, or in the water. Okay, you got it. I can't be killed inside or outside. No problem, you got it. No weapons. Okay, you got it. So all of these conditions he gave him. And so Hiranyakashipu, I outwitted him now. I've got immortality. I can't be killed by anyone, anywhere, with any weapon. I'm good. So he thought he was immortal, right? And so meanwhile, his wife is pregnant with Prahlad, the great devotee, who was then, it's a long story, but then she ended up in the ashram of Narada, because the demigods, they wanted to annihilate the dynasty of Hiranyakashipu. So here's this, his wife is pregnant, so they figured, well, we'll arrest her and keep her, she's innocent. But then when she gives birth, we'll have to kill Prahlad. Now Narada Muni comes and forget it. You can't kill him. He's a great devotee. Let her come to my ashram. So they surrendered to Narada. So she comes to the ashram, and he's instructing her in bhakti-yoga. All of that he's learned from his father, Brahma. He's the second disciplic line. We're in the line of Narada Muni. And so her mind, she's worried about her husband. She's in anxiety. She doesn't hear very well. She's not fixed. But Prahlad is hearing, and he becomes Prahlad. He becomes, the great devotee. So when he takes birth, then later on, Hiranyakashipu comes back, and she's released, and he doesn't know anything about that Prahlad is a great devotee there. So there's this whole conflict. I won't go through the whole story. But he is a great Mahajan. Even as a child, he was so fearless because he felt completely protected by Krishna. A little delicate 5-year-old child faced with this humongous demon who's been empowered by all these austerities, and he's so confident of his immortality, foolish. But he couldn't shake the faith of Prahlad. Prahlad, there's this phrase in English you may have heard, to speak truth to power. It takes a lot of courage to speak truth to power when you may get crucified or whatever, executed. So his father asks him, the first thing, because he goes to school, he's in a school, the Shandanamarka, and he wants to train up little demons, to run the kingdom. So he thinks, Prahlad, okay, Prahlad, what's the best thing you learned today? He put him on his lap, and there's the teachers nearby, going to be very proud, he's going to recite all of it. So what does he say? Tat salamonye asudabharya dehinam sada samudvigna diyam asadgrahat hit vatma patam griyamanda kupam vanam gato yadharamashayeta, which is the last thing that Hiranyakashipu wanted to hear. So first of all, he doesn't call him father. He says, Asura Varya, or best of the demons. Leader of the demons. The best thing. Now the word sadhu means different things. We know sadhu means a saint, but it can also mean very good. It can also mean bravo. I remember when devotees sometimes, or in the Bhagavatam, Krishna would dance very nicely, and they would say, oh, sadhu, sadhu. It just means bravo, bravo, very good, very good. So he said, my father, the best thing I've heard, tat sadhu amanye, in my opinion. Oh, best of the demons, Asuravaya, Dehinam, best for whom? For the embodied souls, that's all of us, who are sada samudvigna diyam, whose consciousness is always disturbed in this material world. Why? Asadgrahat. Because we're holding on to things that are impermanent as our source of safety, as our source of pleasure, but they're impermanent. That means that you're taking shelter, like you're out in the ocean here, and you're in a boat that's sinking. You get in a boat, you hope you're confident it'll stay afloat, right? Oh yes, no problem. So you got out there, and suddenly a leak develops. Suddenly you're in great anxiety. This is called samudvigna, completely disturbed. The mind is disturbed. Because we're holding on to the temporary body, the temporary money, the temporary relationships, everything's temporary. And we've taken shelter. These are called fallible soldiers at the beginning of the second canto by Shukadeva Goswami. So, what should one do? That's only the first step. He's described the situation in the first step, asadgrahat. Hit vatmapatam, he's giving his father advice. Hit vatmapatam griyamanda kupam. This materialistic household life, simply focused on material things and relationships, is like a blind well for the soul. It's like a trap. So he says, give it up. Hitva, renounce it. Atmapatam, which impedes the progress of the soul. Okay, I've given it up. Now what should I do? Vanam gato yad hadamashiyeta. Go to the forest, implying Vrindavan forest. Vanam gato yad hadamashiyeta. Take shelter of Hari, Krishna. The last thing Hiranyakashipu wanted to hear or expected to hear from his son, who'd just been in the school of the demons. So then it starts, what is this? You know, but he didn't blame Prahlad. He looked over at Chandanamarka, what had he been teaching him, you know, with his demonic glance, and said, we didn't teach him anything. I don't know where he got this. So it goes on like dynamics. Then it says, during the tiffin hour, you know, he's in the school. So they assure her, he's just a young boy. We'll disabuse him of all these crazy ideas. Don't worry, you know. So when we get him in the school, where did you learn all this, Prahlad? You know, so Prahlad is just calmly, he's silent, you know. Anyway, so then they start. So then during the regular classes, when the teachers would take lunch and lunch hour, you know, then Prahlad would take advantage and start teaching the boys Krishna consciousness. So now he's not just a rebel, but he's also spreading sedition. You know, he's undermining all the children of the boys of the demons. So anyway, it goes on like that till finally Hiranyakashipu can't take it anymore. Well, this is too much. You're an enemy. He tries to kill him. You know, famously boiling in oil, throwing off the cliff, crushing under the elephant, giving him poison, snakes, everything nothing worked. Not only didn't it hurt him, but he wasn't even troubled. He was so absorbed in remembering Krishna, he had no fear, and he was beyond the material platform, the bodily platform. So he was unharmed after all of this, and that really scared Hiranyakashipu, because that shows a lot of strength. To be able, first of all, to be equipoised, even with all these threats, and then never to be harmed. His body was protected also. So anyway, it goes on like that till finally Lord Nrsimhadev comes, famously, and kills Hiranyakashipu after a little battle. He just played with him for a while, and he killed. And then there's these wonderful prayers of Prahlad. It's a wonderful part of the 7th canto. It's a treasure. So what does that teach us? What did he attain? Exactly what's described here in the Bhagavad Gita. Ananyacheta satatam. His mind was never deviated from Krishna. He was perfectly meditating. Smarati, I am easy to attain in that state. And so, what this verse that we read today is showing that there is no place in this material world that we can be happy and secure, even up to Brahma Loka. There's a nice verse in the Kevalashtaka. There's 8 verses about the holy name written by a wonderful associate of Bhaktivinoda Thakur named Sri Nilakanta Goswami. And each of these verses is very nice. And this is my favorite one of my favorites, and it describes exactly what we're reading about. Abrahmastam paryantam satyam mayamayam jagat satyam punak satyam hare namaiva kevalam. From Brahma's realm, I put it into a little poem. From Brahma's realm atop the sky, down to the lowly grass, illusion reigns in Maya Devi's treacherous morass. The truth, the only truth, the name of Shri Hari, the holy name of Shri Hari is surely all that be. Now what does it mean, the truth? Because the holy name of Krishna is not different from Krishna. The very powers of attractiveness, of beauty, of strength, are there in the holy name. It's inconceivable. But that sound itself, because Krishna is absolute. And what's the lesson to take from that? We can associate with Krishna. We can get the benefits of that association, purification, simply by vibrating that holy name. Now, of course, there's qualities to vibration. We should try to learn how to chant purely. But even chanting impurely, So many benefits are there. Even chanting indifferently, so many lifetimes of karma are eradicated. This is one of Krishna's blessing, especially for this age. Kala doshana de rajan astiyeko mahanganad kirtanadeva Krishna se mukta sangha paramajay. In the 12th canto, Shukadeva Goswami is outlining to Maharaj Parikshit many of the evils of this age. Your lifetime, average lifetime will decrease, your physical strength, the mercy, the strength of your mind, all these things are going to go down and down and down in the Kali Yuga. And it's like an ocean of faults called a dosha nidhe. So what to do? Krishna is not giving us the holy name. Kalir dosha nidhe rajan asti eko mahangunat kirtanadeva krishnasya mukta sangha param bhajed. Says, my dear king, this age is an ocean of faults. You don't need Bhagavad Gita to tell you that. Just go out and look. We've all experienced it. So it's an ocean of faults. But there's one very special quality. Asti eko mahadgunat. Kirtanad eva krishnasya. By chanting the glories of Krishna, beginning with his holy name. Mukta sangha. What does that mean, mukta sangha? Sangha is attachments. It's our attachments to this world. They compare the ropes or knots in the heart that keep us coming back again and again and again. And as we enjoy new things in this world, we're tying new knots. So it's on and on progress. So Mukta Sangha liberates you, cuts all of these knots from this material attachment. How? By making you attached to Krishna. And not just Krishna, but everything related to Krishna. Krishna's service, Krishna's prasadam, Krishna's devotees, Krishna's pastimes. We just finished, this is the last night of I think we have, a few more if you haven't, you can offer. So, all of it becomes more attractive. Krishna attracts us, and that attracts us away from Maya. That attraction for the petty enjoyments of this world is what keeps us coming back. So if we don't have any attraction for it, we have attraction for Krishna and his service and his pastimes, we'll go back home, back to Godhead, when we leave this body. So that's what he's saying. Mamu pechu takuntiya and punarjanma navidya. Then we won't take birth again here. We won't make that mistake again, right? We already made it once. So, any questions on these verses or these ideas based on this passage of Bhagavad Gita as it is? Okay, so then he gets into a little description of Brahma's lifetime. Text 17. Sahasra yuga paryantam aharyad brahmano viduhu ratrim yuga sahasrantam Teho rata vidojana. By human calculation, 1,000 ages taken together form the duration of Brahma's one day, and such also is the duration of his night. So day here means daytime, 12 hours, and night is another 12 hours. Purport: the duration of the material universe is limited. It is manifested in cycles of kalpas. A kalpa is a day of Brahma, and one day of Brahma consists of 1,000 cycles of 4 yugas or ages: Satya, Treta, Dwapara, and Kali. The cycle of Satya, or the yuga of Satya, the age of Satya, is characterized by virtue, wisdom, and religion, there being practically no ignorance and vice. And the yuga lasts 1,728,000 years. In the Treta Yuga, vice is introduced, and this yuga lasts 1,296,000 years. In the Dwapara Yuga, there is even greater decline in virtue and religion, vice increasing, and this yuga lasts 864,000 years. And finally, in Kali Yuga, the yuga we have now been experiencing over the past 5,000 years, there is an abundance of strife, ignorance, irreligion, and vice, true virtue being practically non-existent. And this yuga lasts 432,000 years. In the Kali Yuga, vice increases to such a point that at the termination of the yuga, the Supreme Lord himself appears as the Kalki avatar, vanquishes the demons, saves his devotees, and commences another Satya Yuga. Then the process is set rolling again. These 4 yugas, rotating 1,000 times, comprise 1 day of Brahma, and the same number comprise 1 night. Brahma lives 100 of such years and then dies. These 100 years, by earth calculations, total to 311 trillion and 40 billion earth years. By these calculations, the life of Brahma seems fantastic and interminable, but from the viewpoint of eternity, it is as brief as a lightning flash. In the causal ocean, there are innumerable Brahmas rising and disappearing like bubbles in the Atlantic. Brahma and his creation are all part of the material universe, and therefore they are in constant flux. In the material universe, not even Brahma is free from the process of birth, old age, disease, and death. Brahma, however, is directly engaged in the service of the Supreme Lord in the management of this universe. Therefore, he at once attains liberation. Elevated sannyasis are promoted to Brahma's particular planet, Brahmaloka, which is the highest planet in the material universe, and which survives all the heavenly planets in the upper strata of the planetary system. But in due course, Brahma and all the inhabitants of Brahmaloka are subject to death according to the law of material nature. So this is some pretty amazing information. And one of the things that's how can I say it, fantastic and illuminating, is how time is so relative. For Brahma, he's living 100 years. But in our time, it's 311 trillion, 40 billion years, which is like beyond anything we can imagine. But the mission of the human being is to, first of all, begin with the understanding, as we learned in chapter 2, Najayate mriyate bhakadachan nayam bhutbhava vidhavanabuya arjo nitya shashrata yam purana nahanjate hanimane shirire. This verse describes the nature of the soul, never born, never dies. Najayate mriyate bhakadachan. We are not coming into being, there are new souls coming into being, they already exist. We're just Arja, Nitya, Shashvato, Purana. These are qualities of Krishna. Unborn, eternal, ever-existing, primeval. We are not slain. We, as the soul, are not slain when the body is slain, even when the body is slain by time, when it dies. Very key verse, probably quoted again and again. This is the first step. This is our real nature. We are eternal. But everyone knows in this body that we're not eternal. So how do we get in this predicament? How can we get out of it? How can we regain our eternal nature? This is the process of bhakti-yoga. And we see, this verse is often quoted, say, it won't do you any good to go to Brahmaloka, even the highest material planet. And by extension, it won't do you any good to attain some higher status or position in this petty little material world. It's all simply Maya's illusion to try to, keep you bound in this world. That's her thankless task. To test us, to see if we're really willing to go through what it takes to reform our consciousness so we can return back to the eternal world. And in this age, Krishna has made it so easy. He's made it so practical. Chant the holy name, you see? Take prasadam, and wonderful food offered to Krishna. Just like this morning, we were reading about a Jamil, who in his life also illustrates the power of the chanting of the name. That's another point. But how he became contaminated because he became attracted to a prostitute, and she was cooking for him, and the consciousness goes into the food that you prepare. I remember learning of that before I even heard about Krishna consciousness. That was the Buddhists were teaching that. One has to be very mindful and careful as one prepares the cuts, because it goes into the food. This is the subtle influences in our life is so important. So that's very much there in our Dharma, with this whole aspect of preparing vegetarian foodstuffs for the pleasure of Krishna and offering them to him for his pleasure. Everything's come from him, he comes back to him, and then we take the remnants. And that itself is a very purifying process. So everything we do is meant to be purifying. just being in the mode of goodness, Brahminical qualities, cleanliness everywhere, regulation, everything that we do. And so Krishna consciousness is a whole lifestyle. And the more that we can incorporate the elements of that lifestyle in our daily life, the more we'll feel ourselves progressing in Krishna consciousness. How do you know you're progressing? It's very simple. One is you're becoming detached from those things that are damaging. It's not a mystery. They're becoming attached, you're able to give them up easy, and you're becoming more attached to Krishna and everything related to Krishna. You like to chant the holy name, you're attracted to the festivals and the service, and you want to participate, and the philosophy. And in this, there's so much, there's an amazing abundance. When Prabhupada first came, he was an ambassador, he was like a pioneer in America, giving this bhakti-yoga science as it is. And he himself was the example of it, and he had these little books, and he 3 volumes of Bhagavatam, wonderful books. And that was it. He was trying to attract some people who would hear him and take up the process so that they themselves could become representatives and attract others. It's almost like the opposite of the pandemic, The pandemic is this, you have to be careful not to catch it, right? Because it can harm your health or even kill you. But Krishna consciousness is, by association, you become infected with Krishna thought, and you're on your way, and you can give it to others. You can also infect others with it, Good disease, so-called. So that Prabhupada knew that, and he was incredibly successful. To show Krishna's energy. So we are so much blessed now. We have these books, we have the mantra, the temples are in existence. We should take advantage as much as you are so wisely. Thank you for attending, and also those who are abroad on the internet. And this Bhagavad Gita, we're reading every day. Vijay Prabhu, he posts these notices, how the magic of books is in Australia somewhere, or India, or America, them all. How someone became interested in the book, and then I have this book. This is we have a prison ministry, and prisoners, the priest of prisoners, and so they write essays on how the books changed their life. It made them able to live in the, and tolerate all of the hardships there, and transform them. And they were so sorry and reluctant, repentant for what they had done. And it's amazing. They read the book, they chant the mantra right there in the material world, in the prison. But we should understand this prison. This is also a prison house. Durga. It's under Durga. It's a prison warden. Durga means it's difficult to go, impossible to leave. You can't leave the prison. That's the problem. But we can leave the prison if we get the blessings of the supreme controller of the prison house, who is Krishna. Durga is a servant of Krishna. And as he says, Daivi yesha gunamayi mama maya dodattaya mameve papadinte mayame tangtadantite. That this material nature is my material nature. It's composed of the spirit of the material modes, as impossible to overcome on your own. But those who surrender to me can easily cross beyond it, because he simply orders Maya, let this one go. Stop, bewildering them. They're under my protection now. So we want to come under Krishna's protection. He loves us. He has no desire to exploit us at all. He simply is taking trouble to speak this Bhagavad Gita, come down, and act his pastimes. Of course, wherever he is blissful. But he's doing it for us. And if we simply follow the process as has been laid out by our acharyas and in these wonderful books, we can make substantial progress and find our lives blessed. Okay, any discussion on these points? Sorry, I tend to go on and on too long. Okay, I'll give you 1 or 2 poems. Is that okay? So this is a poem written by Rupa Goswami. This is a verse comparing the devotee to the chataka bird. Chataka bird, he just tries to drink the water from the cloud. That's his subsistence. Vidachita mahidandam di nabando dayangba gatadiha nabavatta karchadan nyamamasti nipatata shatakoti nirmalang van nabangbas tatabikilabayodak stuyate chatakena. The chataka subsists on rain it catches in midair, and so it's always praying to the cloud to send its fare. But though that cloud may send a thunderbolt instead of rain, that bird continues praying fervently despite the pain. Just like the Chataka, I fix my mind upon one goal, and that is you, O Lord, most kind to every fallen soul. So whether it is punishment you send, or mercy sweet, I'll always pray to you for service to your lotus feet. This is a very important attitude we have, because we're in the material world, and we perform so many activities in the past that do so much punishment. So when something happens that's negative in our life, we should know, okay, it could have been much worse, but Krishna is minimizing it, and so he's so wonderful. Thank you, Krishna. And of course, we've done some good things, so we'll get some good karma, something good. Thank you, Krishna, for facilitating my service to you. Now I can, continue. So in both ways, you realize Krishna is blessing us. And that someone who has this attitude is like someone who can inherit the kingdom of God. Dayabak. This is the word used in other Sanskrit verses pertaining to this, because that's our real situation. We have a karmic background that will result in some good things, some bad things, some pains, and so forth. But if we remain faithful in devotional service and regulated, we'll see that Krishna is in charge, and he's helping us to come back to him. We should see it like that. Okay, so one more short one. Is it okay? So this is we have such a treasure. This is from Krishna Karnamrita, quoted twice in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. A short little verse anyone can remember. Madhuram madhuram vaparasya vibhor madhuram madhuram vadanam madhuram madhugandhi madhusmitame tadaho madhuram 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 madhuram. Now you can think of this verse when deities open, you see Lord Giridhari there, his form, his face, a smile. Sweet, sweet is my dear Lord's form, sweet is still his face so fair, but his honey-scented gentle smile is sweet beyond compare. You can chant it 10 times, you won't get tired. It's very beautiful. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hari Hari Bol.